as a hero, that means you are incredibly invested in like white supremacist internet. The United States also arrested white supremacists that inspired the Turkish attacker, for the record. U.S. officials said Monday 2 leaders of a white supremacist group who were also the inspiration for a Turkish youth stabbing 5 people in Eskişehir were arrested. They faced charges of seeking to spark a race war and attacks on Jews, immigrants, and members of the LGBTQ community using an online forum known as Terrorgram. Dallas Humber, 34, of Elk Grove, California, and Matthew Allison, 37, of Boise, Idaho, were taken into custody on Friday. Today's indictment charges the defendants with leading a transnational terrorist group dedicated to attacking America's critical infrastructure, targeting a hit list of our country's public officials, and carrying out deadly hate crimes, all in the name of violent white supremacist ideology. Humber and Allison faced multiple charges, including soliciting hate crimes. One of the people that was in these groups basically was like a lone wolf in Eskişehir. His name was Arda, and he did like a mass stabbing attack. Humber and Allison faced multiple charges, including soliciting hate crime and the murder of federal officials, distributing bomb-making instructions, and conspiring to provide material support to terrorists. According to the indictment, Humber and Allison used the encrypted Telegram platform to promote their white supremacist ideology and communicated with followers on a forum dubbed the Terrorgram Collective. They promoted the belief that violence and terrorism are necessary to ignite a race war and accelerate the collapse of the government and the rise of a white ethno-state. It said Humber and Allison allegedly joined Terrorgram in 2019 and became leaders of the group in 2022. After another leader was arrested, followers were led to believe they would become saints by committing an attack in furtherance of white supremacist accelerationism, the indictment said. At least 2 attacks have been linked to Terrorgram, a live stream stabbing of 5 people by an 18-year-old man outside of a mosque in Turkey on August 12th, and the fatal shooting of 2 men at a gay bar in the Slovakian capital of Bratislava in October 2022. The Turkish attacker allegedly stated in a manifesto that he wanted to be recognized as a saint, and the 19-year-old Bratislava assailant sent his manifesto to Allison and then killed himself, the indictment said. The Turkish attacker, identified as Arda Kuşgetim, I believe is his name, that she was talking about. Arda Kuşgetim, the Madison, Wisconsin school shooter, also brought his name up in the manifesto, was arrested on charges of attempts at multiple murders after he fled the scene. His victims were mostly elderly people resting outside the mosque in central Turkey's Eskişehir. Arda Kuşgetim was wearing a helmet and a skull mask similar to those worn by white supremacists in the United States. In the most reductive ways possible, I will cover this as, this is what happens when you do too much online. They have saints on Terrorgram and even a whole ass calendar to celebrate the dates of their attacks. They try to goad more attacks by saying they will saint you if you do well enough. This is yet another danger of not having any third spaces, not having any sense of community, not really existing in the real world around other human beings, and only finding a sense of common purpose online as you desperately seek out more and more hyper-focused groups, echo chambers online. This is what happens when you have very little association with the real world, and it, I think, accelerated during COVID as well because people just simply could not go outside. Some people found my community, some people found this community, other people found these insane right-wing communities, and they required more and more closeness with other people and ultimately moved further and further down the steps of radicalization. This is why I always urge people to snap themselves out of the hug boxes that they exist online. It's a terrifying prospect. Why would a girl in the Midwest be so inspired by a Turkish neo-Nazi? Why would a Turkish neo-Nazi be so inspired by American neo-Nazis? It's because it is a global network of like-minded fascists, older fascists that are actively trying to radicalize younger people into fascism and successfully doing so, especially when they meet people in their most vulnerable moments. And it's not just one place. This is just one of the many different Telegram groups that have been taken down or are actively monitored by federal law enforcement agencies. But yeah, going back to it. Oh yeah, the shirt is a Columbine reference, I guess. On the right, today's Madison, Wisconsin school shooter Samantha Rupp. No, the shirt she wore clearly referenced the Columbine school shooting. One of the Columbine shooters wore that exact shirt. She also frequented forums where school shooters were idolized, so it has nothing to do with the band, but the symbolism. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, good luck canceling her. I think she's already canceled herself. You know, she did a school shooting and a suicide. Apparently, one of the people mentioned in her, this is AF Post, which is also another neo-Nazi America First Post. Literal neo-Nazi news network, basically. Radfem Hitler, also known as Hollow Earth Turf, deactivated after being named in the Wisconsin school shooters manifesto. The shooter said Radfem Hitler is vindicated now. The shooter also disparaged moids and foids. The leak reportedly comes from the shooter's Discord. I don't know if that's real or not. It's a, what do you call it? It's a America First post. So I'm not going to go along with this, just so you know. I'm just letting you know that there are a bunch of common accounts that end up posting misinformation. And the America First post, if you see anything from those guys, remember that they have a very specific interest in mind. Chatters are saying they're fake, but yeah, you know, it's just... So one thing to also remember is that not only is like America First or Libs of TikTok and many other common purveyors and disseminators of misinformation will actively use any and every opportunity to basically push their own version of propaganda. But the reason why I mentioned like the biases of the person that investigated these matters, the reason why I mentioned that is because I want you to also look at all of this information with a grain of salt as well, considering that none of this has been officially confirmed yet. However, the reason why I brought this up and the reason why I brought up the misinformation is because Libs of TikTok herself immediately went, the Madison school shooter complained about the patriarchy and wrote that every single male must be wiped out from babies to the elderly. Only then women will be free to create a new world. Leftism really destroys lives. And she got this information from Mr. Andy No. And then it turned out that the shooter actually was a neo-Nazi, far-right neo-Nazi femcel who followed white supremacist and Groyper accounts. Not a surprise that Libs of TikTok is trying to paint her as a leftist. If you think feminism is kill all men, then yeah, you're going to misread everything that's happening. So she tweeted it and then deleted it. These guys have one speed, okay? Immediately blame the left. Immediately blame like what you consider to be the left, no matter what happens. The manifesto was the only document that says she was 15 before law enforcement corrected from 17 to 15, so I think it's likely the manifesto is real. Yeah, there are some reasons as to why I'm still presenting this person's investigation, and the reasons are because Slatsism's information, regardless of putting your own watermark on a manifesto of a neo-Nazi, which is insane to do to begin with. But the reasons as to why I'm saying that this is most likely correct is because a lot of the information that has come out in mainstream media that was verified afterwards actually confirms some of the stuff that she had uncovered already. Police have now corrected the record live and confirmed the shooter was 15 as stated in the manifesto I posted here earlier. Previous mainstream media reports claiming the shooter was 17 were incorrect.
Shooter are dead. Identified the shooter for you. A teacher and a teenage student were pronounced dead at the scene. 6 other students and a teacher were injured and taken to area hospitals. 2 students remain in critical condition and have life-threatening injuries. A teacher and 3 students were treated for non-life-threatening injuries, and 2 of those have been released or discharged from the area hospital.
Just to jump in, it's 2 students in critical condition, and then 4, including a teacher, and 3 students with those non-life-threatening.
Lucas from the state room.
How did this 15-year-old get a hold of this gun?
Why are they so quick to release a school shooter manifesto? They're not. The media is very protective over stuff like this, and oftentimes will refuse to release the manifesto of any shooter. Mainstream media usually won't release the manifesto. They'll basically point to it. If they have access to it, they'll point to it to ascribe motive, but it's not mainstream media that released the manifesto. It's some random TERF person who works for Redux Mag, which is like a anti-trans outlet, a TERF outlet. They didn't release Luigi's manifesto. They only made inferences to it. Part of the reason why they don't release manifestos is because they don't want to urge copycats. They don't want to create copycats. How was Slatsism able to get a hold of this privileged info? I mean, she talks about it here. She dug deep and found the alleged boyfriend of the Wisconsin shooter, and he had gotten the full manifesto linked to him in a WhatsApp message, so he was able to send it to her. She didn't release it, just took snippets from it at their leisure. That's the other part of it as well. There are 6 pages total, according to Slatsism, and this is some of the screenshots. War against humanity, the creation of a disaster. Why is this so unfair? Hatred, something everyone has gotten in a sense. Some people think it's pure nothing, but because the hate they make, it ends up killing them without knowing it, which go right ahead. I don't mind, but kind of do at the same time. What the f? Okay, one thing that I immediately noticed when I was reading this was like the literacy rates are abysmal in this country. I know that I joked about Luigi Mangione's manifesto having maybe too much brevity. She is 15 years old, so that probably is a part of it, but Jesus Christ. The human scum is color and the way people are raised. I've grown around people who do not care or give one single care in the world and smoke their lungs out with weed and drink as much as they can, like my own father. I've grown to hate people in society. It's truly not my fault, though it never was, but all of you in the world have done to me is pick and tease me. You've pushed me into a corner with no help whatsoever. It almost reads like it was like written in a different language and then translated through like a Google AI translator. Humanity is filth. I don't like filth, nor I want to live in it, nor should anyone else. I know it follows me and how it was followed me, and I will follow everyone because of how the world is rumored. There were so many things I wanted to do as a kid, yet I can admit I was afraid of other kids and also even with my own parents, but I don't even trust them. And at the age as well, I never will. My parents are scum. There's nothing that will save me. It's like an angsty teenager. Many people go through that phase in their lives.